Welcome back to Weird NASCAR Rumors. A while back, someone left a comment saying that I should do a video on rumors from 2000, and today we're doing just that. So, this video was a fun one for me because while the rumors are all from 2000, I didn't start following NASCAR until the end of the 2001 season, so some of these were ones that I had never heard before. Let's start with some weird ones about Dodge and Ray Evernham's driver search. You may remember from my video on the 2001 season that there were some rumors that Tony Stewart was going to Ganassi, but just a year before, there was a brief rumor that as Dodge was preparing for their return to NASCAR, they wanted Tony Stewart for Ray Evernham's team. I said in my previous video that I think Stewart would have won a championship at Ganassi, a team that had Sterling Marlin legitimately contending for a championship in 2002, but I see that as more of an uphill battle if he went to Evernham. Evernham was a team that could compete for wins, but could never quite compete for championships. Stewart quickly shut down those rumors, which were really just stemming from the fact that he was in the midst of negotiating an extension with Joe Gibbs Racing, as opposed to there being any real substance. Ultimately, the Evernham seats would go to Bill Elliott and Casey Atwood, but the Atwood signing had a really weird twist. Evernham had won 3 championships with Jeff Gordon, so when he was leaving to start his own team, signing a guy that people were referring to as the next Jeff Gordon was obviously something he would want to do. Atwood was known as that guy at the time. He was driving for Bruco Motorsports in the Busch Series at the time, and even though I couldn't find anything on Casey Atwood ever having a driver development deal with Hendrick Motorsports, the Tennessean reported that there was an odd clause in Evernham's severance agreement with Hendrick Motorsports that singled out Casey Atwood as a driver that Evernham was not allowed to contact about driving for him when he was starting his own team. In the end, Atwood did end up in Evernham's 19 car, but that was a really weird piece to the story. And if you want to know more about Ray Evernham's time and departure from Hendrick Motorsports, there's a great section on it in Joe Garner's Jeff Gordon biography, Jeff Gordon, His Dream, Drive, and Destiny, which I just finished listening to on today's sponsor, Audible. If you want to get an audiobook copy of it, you can use my link in the description and get a free trial with Audible. I'm thrilled to be affiliated with Audible, because thanks to them, even when life is too busy for me to sit with a book, I can still enjoy the books that I want to read by listening to them while I'm driving to work, at the gym, or doing the dishes. This Jeff Gordon biography was really great and followed his career from his childhood up through his final full-time season in 2016. So use my link to get a free Audible trial and pick out a copy of it today. One other thing that the book discusses is Gordon's relationship with the next driver that we're going to talk about, Jimmie Johnson. We all remember Jimmie Johnson as the driver who Jeff Gordon took under his wing and would go on to win 7 Cup Series championships. But in 2000, there was talk that Johnson was going to be going Cup racing in 2001 with a different team. Actually, there were 3 different teams that he was connected to. Morgan-McClure Racing was one team that he was briefly rumored to be going to, but that rumor was really brief and it didn't surface until right as Johnson was signing his development deal with Hendrick. There was also a rumor that his Busch Series team, Herzog Motorsports, would be debuting in the Cup Series with him at Watkins Glen in 2000, then putting together a part-time Cup Series effort for him in 2001 with a plan to go full-time in 2002, similar to how things worked out with Johnson and Hendrick Motorsports. The most interesting Johnson rumor was that he was going to drive the 01 Cingular Wireless Dodge for Chip Ganassi. This rumor hung around in the air for a couple of weeks in August, before Stan Herzog stepped in and said that Johnson had 1 more year on his contract with Herzog Motorsports. The Johnson-Ganassi fit is interesting to think about for a few reasons. One, does Johnson still have a successful Cup Series career without Rick Hendrick, Jeff Gordon, and Chad Knaus around him? I think the answer is yes. I think he wins races, maybe wins a championship, and maybe even still has a Hall of Fame career. Even without that cast of characters around him, Johnson's talent was real, and I don't think that he would have been denied a successful career. Plus, I don't see him spending his whole career at Ganassi like he did at Hendrick. So maybe he still ends up at HMS eventually. Johnson actually did go on to drive for Ganassi for 2 years in the IndyCar series after his full-time NASCAR career had ended. So with that said, and the fact that Ganassi did and still does have a highly successful IndyCar program, or kart program at the time, is there a chance that we see Jimmie Johnson run the Indy 500 and complete the Memorial Day double at some point during his career? I personally love it when drivers attempt the double, and I was really sad to see how things went so poorly for Kyle Larson this year. The truth is that these rumors about who was going to drive the 01 car for Ganassi were wild, starting in May and continuing past the end of the season. The first driver who was rumored to take the seat was Ken Schrader, and actually I think this would have been a good fit. He may not have ended up winning races for Ganassi, but I think he would have been a solid fit. Bobby Hamilton Jr. was rumored to be heading to the 01 car for months, along with Rick Mast, Ted Musgrave, and Kevin LePage. But perhaps the most interesting name that got brought up was Jimmie Vasser, who drove for Ganassi in kart at the time and won a kart championship for Ganassi in 1996. Vasser actually tested a cup car for Ganassi in October, and Chip said at the time that the seat was his if he wanted it, and he hoped that he would accept it. What's strange is that actually may have caused some tension between Ganassi and Vasser, as USA Today reported that Vasser said he thought it was a bit strange that Ganassi didn't think he could do the job in kart despite all of the success he had there, and wanted him to move over to NASCAR. Obviously, I don't know enough to know if Ganassi really thought that Vasser didn't have what it took in kart anymore, though it doesn't seem likely to me with my limited knowledge. But either way, Vasser ended up leaving Ganassi altogether at the end of the year. The ride eventually went to Jason Leffler, but the deal wouldn't be finalized until mid-January, just a month before the start of the 2001 season. And even then, there was some drama surrounding Leffler getting out of his commitment to drive for Joe Gibbs in the Busch series. One other rumor that was actually really cool was the idea that Hank Aaron, yes, that Hank Aaron, wanted to own a Cup Series team, which would supposedly be called Hank Aaron Motorsports. This rumor surfaced in September, and it looks like the way it was going to play out was that a company managed by the baseball legend would be buying the number 16 team from Jack Roush, as Roush was scaling down for the 2001 season. Obviously, Aaron would not have been the first, or the last, to find his way to NASCAR ownership after a Hall of Fame career in another sport. Joe Gibbs, Michael Jordan, Terry Bradshaw, Troy Aikman, Roger Staubach, and Randy Moss all did as well. I actually wish this had happened. I think that crossovers like this are great for NASCAR and bring in attention from new audiences, and as a baseball fan myself, I would have loved to see NASCAR get exposure to more baseball fans at the time. Okay, so I'm going to do some rapid fire to close it out, but first, this video was a recommendation that came from a member of the audience, and I do listen to recommendations. So if you have a video that you'd like to see me do, let me know in the comments. It could be rumors from a particular year, a deep dive into a specific rumor from the past, or something else altogether. Just let me know in the comments and I'll give it a look. Okay, rapid fire. UPS was rumored to be going to sponsor the 5 car for Terry Labonte, which wouldn't have been good because it would have robbed us of the Tony the Tiger paint schemes we all love. At Joe Gibbs Racing, there was a scare that Home Depot would be leaving Tony Stewart in the 20 car, and that MBNA was likely to step up and sponsor the 20 car if that happened. There was also a rumor that Greg Zipadelli might be moving from the top of Tony Stewart's pit box over to Bobby Labonte's, which would have broken up the pairing that won 2 Cup Series championships before either of those championships had been won. Also, there was a really strange situation at Richard Childress Racing where Lowe's seemed desperate to get out of their contract to sponsor the 31 car, and there was talk that there would be a sponsor swap between RCR and Morgan-McClure, where Kodak would move over to the 31 car with the payment rate that they were making in 4 car, and Lowe's would make up the difference, and Lowe's would sponsor the 4 car in 2001. Anyway, that's what I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to help grow the channel. you can also leave a comment and share with a friend. Also, go check out Audible for your free trial, and Amazon Prime members will actually get a second credit for an audiobook for free. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.